What's up, y'all? This is Dre with Brothers United Leadership Development, Build 206 Media. We're in the studio with my guy, Aaron Counts,
Hey,
aka AC. What's up with it?
how you doing, man? Good to be here.
I am good. This is another episode of the Collective Network where
I didn't
we're.
get that. Could you try
No,
again?
no, that's not good. We're here in the studio with another episode of the Collective Network where we highlight folks that are doing amazing work in the community so the community can be aware of the work that's going on so we all can tap in. So I got my brother here, Mr. Aaron Counts. How's things been going with you?
It's going really well. I've been enjoying the spring, the weather changing, so that's always a good thing. That sun comes out and it kind of inspires me.
That's
Get
what's
busy,
that's what's up. I definitely been getting my walks in, trying to get out there in the mix, trying to enjoy the weather and work on my tan a little bit.
you know. Yeah, that's those us light skinned Seattle folks. See, we spent 6 months as an undetermined ethnicity.
He said undetermined, and then in the summer they be like, "Oh,
I understand.
okay, that's what's up." So we're gonna jump on in the conversation. Can you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, most recently, I was serving as the director of Creative Justice, arts-based community group. We build community with those youth who are most impacted by the school to prison pipeline. It started as what a lot of folks would consider a diversion program, but youth come to Creative Justice, work on art, talk about issues with mentors, and then put that art back into the community to hopefully folks come to a greater understanding of the root causes of incarceration and how some of the traps that we get caught up in, but really using creativity as the bridge. And that's most recently what I've been doing. But I have a career working in the community all the way back to the '90s. So
You want to share a little bit about that, just so folks know? Like, man, it's a great breath. I mean, you're
yeah,
a father and a black man in Seattle. I mean, share whatever you want to share.
yeah. So interesting. I'm a writer, a poet, fiction writer. But I got my start as a writer working with young people. I was started as a case manager, adolescent counselor at Southwest Youth and Family Services in the mid '90s. Grew into the education director at that organization. And what we would do at Southwest Youth and Family Services in the summer, we would get rid of the education curriculum, the traditional education curriculum. It's high school reentry program. So what we would do is, we're not going to work on language arts in the traditional way. What we're going to do now is personal essays, poetry, and really try to help young people reconnect with their educational process. And sometimes what I would tell them is like, there's all these books on the shelf that they're going to have you read in school. Those are important to read, but if you don't feel engaged with those, then it's just something that somebody's telling you to do. So how do I really think about reading and writing in a way that's more personal and more impactful for myself? So I would sit in the summers and write essays, write poetry with them, and give that message that we have to be in control of that narrative, share our own stories because those are not being shared, and just you can only say that so many times before you take it to heart yourself, and so I started writing in those classrooms in the summers with them, and it grew into a career. I left that job to work on my own personal writing projects, became a teaching artist that way, and really that was what launched my work in community in the iteration that it is now because in doing those teaching artist gigs, had the chance to be in on the ground floor as we developed Youth Speak Seattle. Started as an advisor for education and then as education director as we were really forming what Youth Speak Seattle could be. Did that for a few years. A little bit later, had the opportunity through that Youth Speaks network nationally to found and create the Seattle Youth Poet Laureate program. So finding those voices, those young voices who are writing poetry and really just representing messaging and voice that we really need here. Mentor one young person a year into a book deal. and then a cohort of other poetry ambassadors. So kind of building a platform and helping create space for young people and the community at large to really bring their creativity to the issues that are impacting us.
That's dope. And you've been on the ground, front lines, behind the scenes, everything, for many seasons. So hats off to you for making sure that you continue to keep the creative space available and open for adults and young folks in the community. So transitioning a little bit, this is a question I think we've asked in one of our Saturday check-in calls. So you've been prepped and primed for this, but who or what inspires you and why?
Man, I mean the who question is so difficult to answer, but the what question I think is a little bit easier, and it's a little bit more important, I guess. I as you could tell, I've been involved in the intersection of like arts and justice, arts and community, and really that creativity of our people is what is so inspiring to me. Like how do you exist for hundreds of years with nothing, right, and create something out of it? And we're so deep in a hole sometimes, it feels like, just in terms of equity and justice and level playing fields. We're so deep into it that we're gonna have to think so creatively to get out of it, right? And so what we need is to exercise our imagination. And a lot of times we get caught up in fighting issues, which are important, battling on these fronts politically, socially, in community. But really, for me, what it boils down to is we have to have such a strong imagination in order to figure out creative ways out of it and around it, over it, to transcend the conditions. And so, just seeing the way folks can bring that creativity out and share the pain, but also find the joy in that, right? Like and the beauty in that. And we're so quick to recognize when somebody has done something destructive or done something, quote unquote ugly. But as a people, we have such a capacity to put beauty into the world. And you look at all the music that we're listening to, the art, the fashion, the language, the way we play sports, or any type of those things. There's such a creative beauty to that. And so honoring that as it is, and honoring that as a strategy to get us higher and better, I think is really what's inspiring to me.
Yeah, and that's part of the thought process behind this, is really like how resilient our community is with all the isms that are against us, right? We're still able to show up and show out and make things happen. And I think even in some of the group texts that we've had, like realistically, like we have a lot of, if not all, the resources that we really need. We just got to be more collaborative, which takes time to build relationships and work together to make. And that's kind of what this show is. It's to highlight folks that are tapped in, doing amazing work, so people ain't got to recreate the wheel. That's the other thing. I think sometimes people want to go out and recreate, reimagine things, and really we can work more collectively together on the higher issues. I think sometimes we get caught up in, like you said, we're trying to fight this policy or education or police or whatever, which are important things to do, but at the same time, sometimes those actions can be distractions from us building our relationships, accountability, trust within our community, within our network. Because I feel like if we don't use our resiliency and the resources that we have to solve our problem, like this shit's not going to happen. Like we're just going to keep trying to beg or hope that people do what's not in their best interest to do for our best interest.
And it's really about deciding, or not deciding, but being open to there being a different finish line, right? Like, and so it's not just to get X number of black people in these jobs. You might get them in those jobs, and those jobs are in an oppressive structure. And so that's destructive, even though they have more money in their pocket, right? And so really just thinking about what it is that we have, what it is that we need, and then creating the world that we want to live in.
Yeah, stop trying to push people back into the system that doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. Like the education system, employment system, all that. It's like, you're fitting into what the mainstream is, but it may not be what's best for your soul or your personal or psyche.
You made it.
Yeah, right.
It's like, why do I feel so bad every
Yeah.
day then if I made it,
Yeah,
right?
why do
Like,
I got heart failure and high blood pressure and diabetes and all this other stuff if I made it?
yeah, you got that 401k, but you ain't reaching retirement age to spend it, right? Like,
Right,
so,
that's the hustle too. People really want to be about equity. You need to let black folks retire early and get their full pension because
Man, I
our
hit-
life expectancy ain't what everybody else's is. You
Man,
talk about equity.
I hit 50 this year, so can I start pulling out
Yeah.
out of my Roth IRA? Whatever?
Congratulations. That
Thank
is
you.
a huge milestone. I turned 40 in June.
There you go.
So Gemini,
Gemini,
Gemini's
yeah.
in the building. Gemini,
Yeah.
Gemini's in the building. So yeah, that's a huge milestone. I don't know what I'm gonna do for it, but we'll figure something out. Yeah, so this is kind of I've been telling people this is kind of a loaded question, but because there's been so much going on over the past year, and you could take it wherever you want to take. You talk about the crazy ass national election cycle. You could talk about the crazy ass local election stuff that's been going on. You could talk about the protests. You could talk about COVID, whatever. Just what do you think about everything that's been going on during this time and over the last year?
Wow, what a year, huh?
For real.
It feels like it was about 3 or 4 years, to be honest. I was sitting in my backyard yesterday, and something put me in mind of the how the sky was during the fires, and it felt like it was so long ago. I was like, that was last spring, right? Like that was like literally a year ago. Because I remember sitting in my backyard, and the sky was all that pinkish gray, and it was just so oppressive. It looked so apocalyptic, and it really, I like trying to remember it. I was like, wow, that was not even a year ago. Like, but yeah, it's been heavy, like, and difficult, and also just really inspirational. You know, like we've seen the genius once again, right? Like,
Right.
I think about what folks have done with technology, and again, everybody became their own IT department in the past few months. You know, you have platforms like this. We have like Converge Media. We have folks that are really just hit the ground with their phones and the internet, and really were able to bring messages that we weren't able to see. We saw folks banding together for things like to provide mutual aid in response to COVID, and we've seen just a huge worldwide movement around the way we police our communities, and so as difficult as it has been, and every feel like every week it was a new thing to navigate. Going back to question number one, it was really inspirational as well, just to see how folks got activated.
Right.
And not everybody is going to be on the ground at a protest. Not everybody is going to be broadcasting, a news program. But folks, many folks found the lane in which they were able to do something to be helped. For some people, it was writing checks to organizations to do it. Like I left Creative Justice in February, but just to see just the immense number of people that knew they needed to step back and be quiet, but they had these unearned privilege, which comes with additional resources. Like, well, I can write a check so that it makes it easier for the people who are in community on the ground in that way. Just to see all the different ways folks like survived for themselves, took care of their families,
Right.
and also lifted up the needs of a community at large.
Yeah, and that speaks to the resiliency once again, as well as, we got a lot more in common than we got in different, right? And it's really, the coalition really needs to grow. And, I was speaking about this earlier. This is our first year that we're doing our Mother's Day event, which is a natural transition we planned on doing last year, but COVID had other plans for us. So and ultimately, the ultimate goal with Brothers United Leadership Development is to work closely with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, closely with our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and so on and so forth, and our women as well. So that's realistically, because we got more in common. That's what you're saying. Like, that everybody has their lane. Everybody ain't got to be. I think even in some of the group texts, people are like, "Oh, we got to get with the kids." Yeah, that's one lane, one strategy. But we also got to be going to policies and procedures and taking care of ourselves and all these other things that everybody got their lane. Everybody ain't got to do everything, and some people have some skill sets to be able to cross over in different lanes, but for the most part, find your lane, put it on cruise control, and keep it moving.
I feel like that's like you're talking about finding your lane. Sometimes, when you're active in community and you care about issues, it feels like you need to be at everything. And that's a recipe for burnout. That probably is counterproductive. Even though you feel like you need to be doing something, what you need to be doing is, first of all, taking care of yourself.
Right.
Second of all, taking care of the people who are close to you. That's family, close friends, neighbors, whatever. And then figuring out, the things that you need and the things that the people you love need. Strangers need too, right? So figuring out how do we have capacity to care for and love people who we're in community with, who we might not even know yet, right? And just really growing in that way. It's important.
Yeah. So based on all that, everything that's happened, over this past year, this has really been a trendy kind of topic. People are talking about self-love, self-care, and all that, but I'm being intentional on asking folks, what have you done to take care of yourself? One, to share tools and resources that you have, with others, or if it's not much, then, we can encourage each other to make sure that we're doing that, because like we joked about it, like we don't really get to enjoy retirement and all that stuff because of all the stress and everything that we deal with as Black folks and Black men. So, I want you to share a little bit of what you've done, to take care of yourself during this time.
Yeah, I mean, it was like leading organization during the changing face, all the protests, COVID, all these things. I felt I could feel my stress levels rising. Right. I also have 2 kids of my own. My son just turned 20 yesterday. My daughter is 14. I have my mom in town who lives alone, needs additional support. So what I recognize is that I need to create not an exit plan like I'm retired. I'm retired, but it's just a pause. But I knew I needed to step back because I didn't know how to give to a certain extent to the program, right? We built Creative Justice from an idea, sat around with prosecutors, judges, funders, to just really negotiate how we were going to create this thing that would also provide these court benefits, keep more of our youth out of jail, uplift the creativity, but then managing all of the, writing grants, checking it, bringing care packages to the young people, carrying their stories as they're still impacted by the system. It's like I felt like I was not able to give fully to the organization and to family obligations, and so the biggest thing that I did was just dedicate, say, okay, I'm stepping away. I still love Creative Justice. I could work there forever, and I need to step back, so that I can be there for family, but not just for family, for myself, because you get into, as an artist, you get into things like teaching artistry, taking jobs that help. You're in a creative space because you're creating a space for other people to be creative, but you don't always get to do that too. And for me, writing and now visual art, things like that, those are what feed me and what keep me sane, what bring my stress levels down, what all of these things that we need to remain healthy, help me process what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, all those things. And so just making time for that, and in this instance, at the expense of income, right? So, luckily I'm in a two income household, and so it's not a huge pressure in that way, but it is pressure. I can't spend like I used to spend, those kind of things, but the, hopefully what it makes up for is I'm around longer. You know what I mean? My father, he didn't make it to his 43rd birthday, so every year on my birthday I really reflect on that. But now I'm older than he ever was, right? And so that's why this beard happened when I left Creative Justice. Like, as I was preparing to leave, and hearing they did a great send off, and they asked all the artists that we're working with, just to talk about my impact. And that's so humbling when people are speaking of you that way. But just to hear them think of me as the community uncle, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm an old ass man, so I better just embrace it. And this is, and I started going, great early, early in life too. I think it was, I don't know if it had anything to do with my father, passing early, but I noticed those kind of things, like,
Right.
like, and so I said, let me just go full Santa Claus on him for a little while, and embrace that uncle, and just, plus I got my COVID shot early that way because I thought I was old.
He slid in like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, the elders, front of the line, sir." You probably been getting called sir and everything, huh?
Please don't look at me weird, nothing, man. Like,
That's what's up. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing some of the stuff that you've done, and I could definitely. I think you and I were going through our transitions at the same time with work, because I'm down to halftime at work. Same thing. Like, I can't be somewhere and not give 100%. So at least if I go halftime and put some clear boundaries up, then I can, not give my everything. And so I think we definitely left for different reasons, but I appreciate the fact that sacrificing resources and funds, which may make life a little more comfortable in the short term. It's like some, on the streets, all money ain't good money. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you, which is ultimately what's best for your family and community overall. So I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing what you've done, recently to take care of yourself and continue anything I could do to help. I know we've been on a few walks, and so I'm, looking forward to, continuing to be in space with you and community and make things happen.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and that's one of the things, like, that I appreciate most. I'm horrible about staying in touch with folks. Like, I just am, and I feel bad about it, but I also have a hard time changing that behavior. But so I really appreciate people that reach out just to check in, or hey, let's do some. We don't have to get together and talk about business. Let's just go do something that, for our health and well-being, and getting out in that sun, and exercising those lungs and those muscles. Like, so I really appreciate you reaching out, and yeah, it's a great it's a great trait, man. So keep that. I know you be like the grumpy young man. I don't want to call you grumpy old man. You be surly sometimes, but
Surly.
but you got that big heart, and it that's another thing that has really helped me this year, is just seeing the folks that recognize that people need that connection, and reaching out and making it happen. So
Yeah, and it's been hard too with COVID. Like, people just been really isolated, and so trying to keep folks connected through Zoom and phone calls and texts or whatever, as much as we can. You got to be intentional with it. Otherwise, the hamster wheel's going to keep going. In a year, blink an eye, 3 years will go by.
man,
So
yeah, it'll grind you up and turn you out, right?
right. So what advice would you give someone looking to get involved in community work?
I would the biggest advice that I would give is really look for who you're in community with now. What are the resources that exist there? What are the needs that exist there? And build from that. Because if you have a strong relationship, you're already in community, then you're gonna care for one another naturally, right? Like, as opposed to, like, especially like this past year or two, as we've seen, uh, justice become to the forefront. A lot of funds exist now to reduce the harm of state-sanctioned violence and policing. Uh, money specifically for the Black community. and so you start to see new players enter the space. But I like to rock with the old players. You know what I mean? Like so. Not that new players are not welcome, but if you're entering a space and now you're reaching out to try to build a relationship so that you can have another co-signer on your grant or whatever, like those, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in the people, because I mean you and I both know people that have been out here doing it on a small scale on their block, on their in their neighborhood, when there was no money involved, just because it was the right thing to do, and these were people that they cared about and wanted to care more for. I say for people who want to get involved, think about who you're in community with now and start there.
That's real. And we also do got to make space for, at some point we all came in the game at some point, right? And the highlights of things that happened last year really wasn't nothing new for Black folks, but I think it did spark some people. So sometimes tragic situations springboard people into things, right? But I agree. Like if you gotta see why and what you're doing, right? So I appreciate you adding that. So the last question I have for you isn't really a question for you. I like to be equitable. I've been controlling the conversation. So do you have any questions for me?
Man, I do have a question. I was hoping your son AJ was going to be here, and I was going to bring him for the last part. I don't know if the audience has met AJ. This is a special young man. Like, I'm telling you, we're all going to be working for AJ in about maybe 10 or less years, but when you had, like, knowing you have this son with this amazing brain and a capacity for learning, and also he's part of you, right? And you're so connected in community. Like, are there things that you're worried about that those of us in community with you, are there things that you're worried about with him that community, that you hope community supports you on, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, this is a crazy, fucked up world, to say the least, right? So my whole mission, I think everybody's mission as a parent, is to create a better world for your kids, right? And that's my thing. It's like my mom made my world better for me, and my job is to make my son's world better for him. And his job is to, when he has kids, is to make, or not have kids, is to make the world better for everybody. So that's really, like my life goal, my life mission, is to make sure that he got the supports that he needs and give him the resources and just let him be a kid. You know what I mean? Let's let him be a 12-year-old kid, and then he still may make mistakes, and I got to support him and rock with him regardless. So it's all investments, like really making the investments. Preschool, he's going to private school, those types of things. He's into art. I try to just provide whatever resources, and then tap him into people that I know that are in community. So yeah, I am worried about the same issues that I dealt with, plaguing his life, because the needle really hasn't moved that much from when I look at graduation rates, incarceration rates. Some things are going backwards, right? Yeah. And so it is scary, especially raising a young Black man. But I just try to encourage him to be what he wants to be. If he was here, he would already be in here. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. He poking his head in, and are you guys done? Are you ready? And but yeah, I definitely, he's been building his YouTube channel out, so make sure you guys go check it out, Building Project Tesla. He's all over that. If you're into Teslas, he could definitely got the info for you, and I'll definitely want to get him on this show. I've been talking about other shows that he wants to kind of lead, because he's coming into himself in his public speaking. I don't really want to step on his creativity and try to like overwhelm him and push my agenda on him. I kind of let him do his thing. You know?
I have some idea. I definitely want to tap in with AJ, and I hope me and AJ can do some kind of like art workshops. And get him out there for community to do art along with the Black Bob Ross. You know what I mean? We can FaceTime at this. I know he's down with it. I haven't talked to him about it. I talked to his mom about it, but I know he's with it. That's a layup. So. All right, bro. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to come, in and build with us, talk about the Collective Network. This is Dre with Build 206 Media, Brothers United Leadership Development, with my guy, Aaron Counts. Until next time, peace. Thank you. Appreciate it.